This month we're exploring the idea of turning points, and a turning point is the moment at which there is enough critical mass for a major change to occur. A turning point is the moment of decision, the moment we individually or collectively decide to make a shift, to head in a different direction, to view things another way, and that decision results in a radically different outcome. Or said another way, it results in a different tipping point. Works out well, doesn't it? This month has been inspired by Pam Grout's latest book, E Cubed, which speaks to the power of our basic, fundamental New Thought beliefs. So we're going to go for that. Today we pick up where we left off last week as we continue the work of experiencing turning points which create tipping points in the direction of being who we came here to be and doing what we came here to do. Piece of cake, huh? Before we continue the work, I want to share with you a great turning point story. It's one of my favorites, and I tell it often. However, I want to apologize in advance to anyone over 90 who might take offense. Okay. No, you're not over 90. There was a 92-year-old man who went to the doctor to get a physical. The man didn't look good. He was thin and pale and fragile. His vital signs weren't good. So the doctor gave the gent some words of solid medical advice. A few months later, the doctor ran into the man walking down the street. He was a changed man. He had gained weight. His color had come back in his cheeks. He looked strong and healthy. And to top it off, he had a gorgeous young lady on his arm. The doctor stopped to marvel at his improvement and said, "I can't believe it. You look terrific. What happened to you?" The man replied, "Well, what do you mean, what happened to me? I'm just doing what you said to do. Get a hot mama and be cheerful." The doctor said, "You old fool. I didn't say get a hot mama and be cheerful. I said you've got a heart murmur. Be careful." I love that story. Our friend was headed toward a point that may have tipped him over to the other side, literally to the other side. But he had a turning point when he misheard the doctor's instructions. Doesn't that speak volumes to the power of our beliefs and the realizations we create with them? Today we're actually going to experiment with that exact thing. But first, we have to see where we've been and what happened this week. We are basing this month, this year, on 5 of what we are calling turning point views. And these are fundamental New Thought principles that the majority of the world doesn't necessarily always embrace, but we do. What are they? Anybody remember them? Well, let me give you a little turning point view 1. God is an energy of love and creation that flows through all, surrounds all, is all, which includes me. Turning point 1. God is an energy of love and creation that flows through all, surrounds all, is all, which includes me. Like that? Isn't that a wonderful, powerful affirmation? Turning point 2. The universe has my back and is constantly conspiring for my good. What do you think of that? The universe has my back and is constantly moving for my good. Turning point 3. I create my world with my thoughts, beliefs, and energetic frequencies. I create my world with my thoughts, beliefs, and energetic frequencies. Have you ever seen the experiments that people have done in various scientific theaters and semi-scientific theaters of the change in a person's feeling between positive thoughts and negative thoughts. It's truly amazing, and we'll get into more of that. Turning point 4, once I surrender to the universal flow of life, and that's with a big capital L, it will take over. It will take over and handle the details. Turning point 5, I am inherently worthy simply because of who I am. Who are you? You are inherently worthy simply because of who you are. And I want to remind you also at this time of our dream team, our version of mastermind groups, to support you in really living from these turning point views and creating the life of your dreams in 2022. DREAM, D-R-E-A-M, stands for D, deserving your dreams. R, reaching for the stars. E, expecting the best for yourself and your teammates. Aligning with source is A, and manifesting your heart's desires is the M. And normally, we'd have sign-up sheets and stuff, but since we've still got the great global cootie catastrophe happening, and I have to say, I didn't come up with that. That was Gina, but I like it. You get points on that one, yeah. And the great global cootie catastrophe, that sounds a lot better than the other ones, doesn't it? Yeah. I don't know if it does any good, but it gives you a laugh when it's going by anyway. If you're interested in participating or learning more about our great global cootie catastrophe or our dream team, see Gina after the service so she can add you to the big digital list she's keeping. So far, we've got 6 folks ready to jump in. Are you ready to jump in? Don't say no. Move. Get there. Jump in and do it. That's how we grow. Now to our experiments. And I love this quote from author Amit Kalantri in E Cubed. On page 51, he said, "Theories might inspire you, but experiments will advance you." Like that? Yeah, me too. Theories might inspire you, but experiments will advance you. Last week you did 2 experiments to advance you in embodying, living, and believing these turning point views. I'm going to review those now. Review of experiment number 1. The first one was to awaken each day and before putting your feet on the floor saying, "Something amazingly awesome happens to me today." And the second part of the experiment was, no matter what happened, to say, "That's amazing. Thank you, universe." How's that for powerful, huh? So, what happened with that? Did any of you have an experience you'd like to share? Oh, we got right there. Kathy? You saw sunrises you'd never seen before? And this was a week for that too, wasn't it? They were gorgeous. Anybody else notice those sunrises? Weren't they great? You get out of bed and you go out in the morning and you go, "Oh, how is that? Oh, man, I just went crazy with that." Okay, review of experiment number 2. The second experiment to prove how powerful your thoughts are was to look for and check off 8 things. Now, we're going to look and see. Anybody here have a belly laugh? Oh, there we go. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, I love it. 5. Anybody see a toy from their childhood? Oh, Gina, you don't count. You're still a child. Oh, I love it. How about your favorite high school song? Do you remember that? Yeah, I was thinking of one when I was in high school, and I don't know if it was my favorite or not, but I had to say I loved it, and it might ring some bells with you. I said, "Far above Cayuga's waters, there's a stinking smell. Some say it's Lake Cayuga, others say Cornell. That was, I have to admit, one of my favorite songs from high school. Anybody see the number 222 on anything? Boy, you've been popping there, haven't you guys, at the end down there? Wow. How about, anybody see a beach ball? It was flat? Oh, I love it. Anybody see a senior citizen in a fashionable hat? Oh, there we go. How many of you were that senior citizen in a fashionable hat? Yeah, there we go. Jean's waving her hands. I got it. How about, this is my favorite. A smile from a baby. That does it, doesn't it? Just knocks you out. And finally, our last one here today, a billboard with a message just for you. Nancy got one. Anybody else? I saw a wonderful, wonderful thing from another church a while ago. And the woman was having a hard time doing anything and getting ready to go. And she happened to see a large billboard on her way to town. She was trying to figure out how she could cram in everything and how she could get it all going. And as she drove past the billboard, she did this, because on the billboard it said, "This sign is for you." She said, "Well, okay." Ever seen a sign like that? Yeah, it's a wonderful thing when you do it, huh? Okay, now let's move to our next two experiments. Can someone, we have a handout, Gina, you have it? Okay, Gina's got it. And the handouts and the lab sheets for this week. In our third experiment, we'll work on supporting Turning Point View 5. We are worthy. That says it right there, doesn't it? We are worthy. We all have a lot of absolutes. Now, I'm not talking absolute with a capital A, like God, the one absolute, self-existent cause, or as Ernest Holmes defines absolute at page 575 of The Science of Mind, that which nothing can limit, that which forever transcends any conceivable limitation or determination, unconditional perfection. And it's often used as a synonym for God. Huh? Now, I don't mean that kind of absolute. Also, not the kind of absolute that you would drink, but rather absolute with a lowercase a, things we believe in without questioning. And for this experiment, we're going to narrow it down to beliefs about ourselves. Because it's one thing for us to say that we are worthy and valuable and amazing and beautiful and so on and so forth, but sometimes we need to prove it to ourselves, and this experiment will do that. You ready? You may think it is an absolute that you are not photogenic, or that you are too old to find love or a good job. You may think you absolutely don't make enough money or could never truly be happy in life. But here's the interesting thing. In the quantum world, in the field of infinite possibilities, no reality is truer than any other. There's no such thing as an absolute, again, lowercase a. We all have our stories. Every one of us has a story. And here's the thing, because we tell them, and we tell them, and we tell them to ourselves some more, they become our reality. They become our absolute. In E-Cube on page 15, Alberto Villoldo, a Cuban-born psychologist and shaman, was quoted as saying, "When we drop," and I love this, "when we drop our dreary story, we are provided for in every way." Huh? When we drop our dreary story, we are provided for in every way. But we don't drop it and pick it up right away. We drop it. It's gone. And these stories are no more true than are their opposites, except to the degree that we've repeated them and made them our personal calling card. Huh? There is a whole palette of other possibilities. Some of our stories serve us, and that's wonderful, but many do not. Before getting into experiment 3, I want to share a story that Pam Grout shares in E Cubed on pages 110 through 112. It's about women choosing not to believe the absolute, and one woman who was being told that, but listening to her inner voice, which was telling her there was a different possibility. That show I talked about before, can you imagine being in the car? The baby, after it's been delivered, is so small and so underdeveloped that its blood system was breaking down. The blood vessels would break. And at that age, how can you repair them? And they would think, well, there's nothing we can do. But the baby looked at the doctor with the look that said, I'm still here. Don't give up. And through the course of the story, the baby gains more strength and more growth until, as I told you, it was about 8 years old. What is the power we have that we throw away? At 25, Michelle Longo O'Donnell was an RN working at one of the first pediatric intensive care units in the nation. She was married to a Vietnam Marine vet, had a 2-year-old daughter, and was pregnant with her second child. Because she'd had her withered left kidney removed when she was younger, doctors thought her right kidney was overloaded and decided to induce birth by giving her a drug to begin labor. A mistake in the calculation of her due date caused her daughter Lara to be born, ready yet for this, at 7 months, weighing a mere 2.5 pounds. The doctors whisked away the tiny purple baby who made no movement, no sound. And just to put this in perspective, this happened in the 70s, and the prenatal medical community did not have the advancements it has now. Little Lara was unable to take in air or keep her lungs inflated. During the first night, she had 5 cardiac arrests. Even with 100% oxygen being pumped into her tiny lungs, she was not getting enough to supply her kidneys and brain. The senior resident came into the mother's room the next morning and asked for her permission to stop treatment, because he said Lara simply could not survive. As a nurse, Michelle knew that what the resident said was most likely true, and even if Lara did survive, severe mental retardation was the outcome of oxygen deprivation. But, catch this, something inside her kept telling her that everything would be okay. So she refused to give permission to stop treatment. The mother struggled with 2 voices inside her head. One buying into the absolute belief of the medical community, yet another deep underlying conviction in the quantum, probably that everything was going to be all right. Which one would you believe? Her husband abandoned her after 2 days, and for 2 long years after Lara was finally released from the ICU, Michelle O'Donnell pieced together a life, never once owning the probability of Lara's mental retardation, not letting go of the probability that healing was still possible. She dealt with what she had to deal with in the world, but kept a hold of her mental constructs. She did this for 2 years with absolutely no evidence in the outer world to suggest that the first probability mental retardation had not happened, nor the second probability that healing was possible was occurring. When Lara was nearly 2 years old, Michelle had her propped on her hip and was getting ready to put a cracker into her mouth, like she'd done many times before. And Lara, who had not shown awareness of any kind, had basically lived like the vegetable the doctors told Michelle they would be, smiling at her mother, reached up to grab the cracker and put it in her mouth. From that moment on, she made rapid improvement. Lara grew up to become a lawyer and eventually work for the Attorney General of Texas. Her mother said, you have to keep your mind off of letting any reality become your identity. So in the experiment, you're going to take a reality that you have believed in absolute fact about you. And for 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, actively look for its exact opposite. It doesn't matter what belief you choose. Here's some ideas for you. I've never been that great at relationships. I sometimes suffer from depression. I have trouble sleeping. I hate to exercise. That's one we all know, isn't it? I've never been organized. I'm lousy at math. I've got bad follow-through. I'm not good enough. I'll never make anything of myself. It doesn't really matter what you pick, just something you've repeatedly said and believed about yourself. Find one of those, perhaps in the words I just gave you. Pam Grout tells us to pick an identity that we've worn like a pair of our favorite jeans. Always there. And in this experiment, you're going to rewrite your story by looking for evidence of the opposite reality. Now, here's the theory behind this experiment. Nothing is absolute. Only thinking makes it so. Sounds like something Shakespeare would have written, huh? As you observe the evidence proving the opposite of these old negative thoughts about yourself, record it all on the lab sheet you received. It'll keep you busy for a little while, huh? And now moving on to experiment 4. Set out to prove a turning point view number 1. There really is an invisible energy force or field of infinite possibilities of love and creation that flows through all, surrounds all, and is always wanting to experience itself through us. The Scripture tells us in Revelation chapter 3, verse 20, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me. They're not saying, try this, light a candle and try it for 4 nights. They're just saying, do it. And that's what Revelation said. Just do it and I will come in. And for our 4th experiment, we're going to listen for the knocking. Knowing it is there, and for 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, deeply trust that we will catch a glimpse of the wonder and glory of the field of infinite possibilities in a tangible, can't-be-missed way. In order to get this glimpse, it only takes a slight shift in our energy vibrations. Look at the difference. I love this. A slight shift can make in these 2 sentences. Lessons number 1, let's eat, Grandma. Sentence 2, let's eat, Grandma. There's but one little comma difference, but that little difference makes all the difference in the world. You are going to make a slight shift in your energetic vibration so you are just a bit closer to reality with a capital R. How? Simply by setting your conscious intention to do so. In The Science of Mind, on page 31, Ernest said, we reach out to infinity, and science we cannot encompass. Infinity. We shall always be expanding and always enlarging our capacity to know and to experience. And this experiment is about consciously expanding and enlarging our capacity to know and to experience the awe and the wonder of the universe. Nothing to it, huh? As you're here this year, you're going to find many, many opportunities to learn, to become, to grow, to be. I'm going to give you a couple of little ones for you to play with here. Look for and record evidence that is the opposite of something you have believed about yourself. Look for and record evidence that is the opposite of something you have believed about yourself. Number 2, look for indisputable evidence of the awesome nature of the universe and the presence of divine creative love. If I can get it, I will find a copy of yesterday's program, which I heard on public radio, and have it here so you can listen to it one Sunday. It is breathtaking and so absolutely beautiful. Can you imagine a little baby this big? The doctors are saying, there's nothing we can do. She's just too small to survive. She's too underdeveloped to make it. And this little creature is looking the doctor in the eyes, kind of like, I'm here. Shut up. I'm here and I'm going to make it. And then see it happen. What would happen if we lived all of our lives with that indisputable evidence? That evidence of the awesome nature of the universe and the presence of divine creative love. And we have trouble hanging on to that love. There's so much going on in the world and telling us no, 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 bad, bad, bad. When we can grasp a hold of that love and hang on to it, the rest of it is meaningless. It dissolves. I found that program to be so exciting. I do want to find a copy of it so I can play it for you. And in this way, we will absolutely create turning points in our lives which cannot help but lead to tipping points, tipping us into a life of greater love, joy, connection, health, wealth, and harmony. I'd say that's worth continuing our work, wouldn't you? I think so. So let that be our meaning today. Let that be our affirmation, our prayer, our goodness. To know that that infinite presence of God is with us now, in us, around us, not as some old man on a cloud, but as the center of love, beginning in us and moving in the world around us and growing in every direction with love, honesty, goodness, and purity. Knowing that that incredible love is building our church and building all the people in our church in helping to diminish the illnesses in the world, to let those illnesses go away, and to give us the ability to celebrate all of the time we are together and to say, so let it be, and so it is. Thank you.